Hi, this is Tina from Inner Delight, and I'm delighted to be joined today for another We Uplift TV segment with the beautiful Fay Hart. And the beauty of our calls here and connecting is that we truly are a global collaboration. I'm calling from Europe, and Fay, who is from all over the world, is in Mexico at the moment. So welcome, Fay.
Hi, Tina. Welcome me and welcome you.
Yeah, gosh. Now, I was just looking through your site, and the one thing that really made me giggle was how you were talking about having been in the music business and had all kinds of functions in the work that you were doing, including being a tour nurse, saying that your only qualifications for that were a bottle of gin, lots of aspirins, and a packet of Flintstone Band-Aids. That's so funny.
That's true. Actually, that was because when I was a young punk rocker, my boyfriend he was a bass player in a punk band and used to wear nurses' uniforms as part of his getup. So we had matching nurses' uniforms, and somebody just mistook me for a real nurse once. And the way things could happen in the 70s,
Wow. And then from there, studying psychology and doing all kinds of different self-development, growth potential work. Who is Faye?
Well, really, that's what actually I've been getting to, dropping all the false selves and seeing really what's under there. And it's funny because I think that what happens is you always come back to who you've always really been. You just always you think you're tricking everyone with all these personality and sort of style things and everything. But really, I don't think that anybody is surprised that I've wound up where I am doing what I am now, apart from myself. But it's been a kind of 13-year since I think, what compelled me to move into the sort of healing business, as it were, initially, becoming a psychology tutor and counselor, it seemed like the first half of my life was all sex and drugs and rock and roll, and then I had sort of moved in to try to figure out what happened, and it was quite a nice training, for what came. But it has been really, because I've always sort of been seeking. I think that's really what rock and roll is all about, just looking for alternatives to a system maybe that you don't really resonate with, from a very early age. I knew, when I saw Grace Slick in Life magazine or something when I was 12, I thought, that's what I want. Just wherever that is, San Francisco, New York, or whatever. And so I think that path, was just, it felt like my life just led me. I've never made too much of a game plan. And I just sort of have always been led by my life. But it's been my dream to live in Mexico for about 20 years, and now it's really materialized. I'm here, I have this beautiful home in Mexico, and I can see everything materializing and manifesting in front of me.
Beautiful. So how did that come into being?
Well, I kind of blame my dad, because he he took us to America when I was a little girl. We immigrated from Ireland. We were from the north of Ireland. And he really had that wanderlust. And he was an iron worker. He was what they call a boomer. So he traveled the breadth of the United States during the 60s when there was a big boom of building skyscrapers. He built all those great buildings across the states, but he never took us with him. He sort of plunked us down in this old farmhouse in Indiana and would come and go from that. And he would always send postcards of these seeming exotic places, like California and stuff. And so I was always thinking that, I'm going to do that, So rock and roll was kind of my way to get on the road, I guess. And then so I just had that kind of little bit of rootlessness. Although I lived in London for 30 years. I lived in the same flat, in the same flat for 30 years when I went to London. But I traveled a lot because I was married to a musician, so we were coming and going all the time. And then in 2005, there's a series of things. My children were raised. I just couldn't. I had this dream of being a life coach when I heard a woman, in 1998 actually, I heard a woman being interviewed on the radio, an American woman who called herself a life coach, and I really perked up because I had never heard the term before. It wasn't really in England. They had, it hadn't really come there yet. And she was talking about, she was living in a Winnebago, traveling around, coaching on a mobile phone. And she was telling this story about how she was in this pine forest in her Winnebago coaching from a lawn chair on this mobile phone, and this squirrel dropped out of a tree into her lap, sort of blew her professionalism. And the story, it really stuck with me because the path I was on was just so much more staid. I was training to be a psychodynamic counselor, and that just sounded like much more interesting. I thought, how do you get to do that? So that began my movement in that direction,
Beautiful.
So it's sort of 13 years on and a hefty investment in courses and seminars. I finally am here, because I thought, I want to coach from a hammock in Mexico. That's what I want to do. So I've got the hammock. I got to Mexico.
And you're coaching.
I am.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I just love it when we hear these stories, it makes your heart sing. And then when you say you look back and see that from a young age, that thread kind of goes through your life. And when you look back, you can say, yeah, this totally fits, huh? And that's what you help people with, reconnecting with what makes their heart sing and really coming back home into their center.
Yeah, I mean, this is the great thing, really, if you just allow yourself to get out of the way and let your life reveal itself. It's really all there for you, but it's the ego, I think, and this fear, a lot of fear. I've always had a lot of fear about money. I thought, how do people do that? Because I never seemed to have the money to get to the next level or something. But when I don't know if you can hear the marching band coming by again. It's Mexican Independence Day, so I'll tell you tonight this town is just going to be on fire. I mean, they go so wild, and I love all the sounds and the atmosphere of it here is it's really free. It really suits me, kind of this way of living. But so I just apologize for it. I don't know if you can hear it.
Well, it makes me think that it's really a tribute. You're being saluted if what's going on in the outside was a reflection of what's going on in here. Then, wow, you've manifested a band going past, and we've just been talking about the music in your life. I mean, how amazing! Right. I love it.
Yeah, I know you can never get away from rock and roll. That's what I was thinking. I'm like this old rock chick, right? And when I came to Mexico, I've been trying to come here for ages, and I finally left London, and I came down here. And my daughter's been living down here for a while, so I had a connection, and I was house sitting for my daughter, actually, and I was really at a loss. I thought, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I better live in the United States, where it seems more practical. I can probably figure out how to make a living there. And the technology wasn't really up to par here as far as the internet connections and stuff. So I thought, well, I don't know, that coaching dream might be a bit dodgy here. And anyway, I was taking my daughter's dogs for a walk one evening, and a guy was putting a yard sale sign on this house, this very house I'm sitting in now. And I walked over to ask if he had a desk, and he invited me in, and when I crossed the threshold, I got goosebumps, and I said, oh my God, this is my house. But then my evil mind said, don't be silly. It's not for sale, and you can't afford it anyway. But within half an hour, we shook hands in the kitchen, and I bought this dream home at a yard sale, which is pretty significant because my book, my full-length collection, is called Yard Sale. So definitely the gods were lining things up for me.
Beautiful.
But it was a further several years before I could really live here. I just couldn't understand how to make a living, so I did go up to the States and lived with my mom, and thought, oh, I'll get it together from there. And I did an extremely expensive life coaching course and spent all my money trying to figure it out, but there was something always blocking me. And it wound up I was, living with my mom, working at Starbucks, earning $7.10 an hour, just thinking, what happened to my life? And my house was down there in Mexico, and I couldn't seem to get the two together. And then, and my daughter really encouraged me a lot. Finally she said, Mom, just go, because it was, the longer I stayed in the States, it felt like the more behind I got. However, what happened when I was kind of held there, and I kind of hit what a lot of people call your rock bottom, I just felt really quite lost, and like I was just, that old thing came up again, how you're never going to make any money and you're just a loser and blah, 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 And, but what happened when I was seemingly kind of held, I felt stuck. But now I look at it more that something held me there, because I found this incredible series of teachers, and I moved into this way of working energetically rather than the sort of models of psychotherapy and counseling and coaching that I had been training in, which never really fully got me going, you see. And so with hindsight, I can see that it's all in divine order. And so that's kind of was back to what you're saying, what I help people do is to really shift out of the thoughts, really, that keep them held in these old belief patterns, and move into this beautiful, subtle language of the body, this wordless, energetic language. And it's just amazing, because it really is, you can move things so quickly when you get out of the mind, out of the thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that's just so beautiful. I mean, how you sharing the story of, following the many different paths through life, really all the while staying true to that call from your heart. And even though that's not always easy when the mind gets in the way, you did it and you're doing it. So, yay.
Yeah. And the mind. Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, I would like to just let people know where they can contact you. They can go to your website, followfay.com. You find all the information there. And Fay, you also have a beautiful page on Facebook. Facebook! Facebook, that's funny. Hey, maybe that's coming. Facebook is coming.
I think so. Yeah, my own social network.
Yeah. So on Facebook, and you can look up Fay, and you're also interacting on the Whispering Energy page a lot, so people can find you there. So.
I love that.
Yeah, and I look forward to our next videos. We're going to be talking about some of the other things that you're doing. You've also written a beautiful book with poetry, and talk a little bit about what you do with the sessions with people. And I am delighted that you're taking the time to be here today. Thank you for your beautiful, joyful presence and for being you.
Oh, thank you, Tina. It's just been such a pleasure connecting with you all the way over to the Netherlands from Mexico. That's amazing.
Well, until the next time, many joyful blessings, everyone.
Good. Thank you.